If you are an Elden Ring player, well then, this is a great time to be alive. The new Shadow of the Erdtree DLC gameplay trailer has just been released, and as if that wasn't enough, we also got 3 different interviews from Miyazaki himself that help us understand a good bit of what is going to happen with the new DLC. So with that in mind, here are a few important things that we know for now about Shadow of the Erdtree. The first thing we're talking about is the actual release date, as we finally have a day that we can look forward to. It took us a long to get here, but we finally know now that it is going to be released on the 21st of June of this year, 21st of June of 2024. This means that we are looking at about 4 months of wait between the trailer and the actual release date. I believe that in previous expansions, this time frame was a little bit smaller, like about 2 months from the trailer reveal to the actual release. Actually, for me, I would say that it is just perfect time. There is time to get the pre-orders in, there is time to get ready, there's time to create your characters, to book your vacations in advance, that's very important. And I think they have just about enough time to build even more hype for the DLC. I know the hype is there, but you know, with this type of stuff, you want to get your pre-orders, and that's what we're going to talk about next. When it comes to the pre-orders, we have been presented with a plethora of editions, including 3 digital ones alongside a collector's edition that is physical and includes a figurine, but we will talk about that in a bit. Breaking down the 3 digital ones, we have the Shadow of the Erdtree edition, which will include the Elden Ring base game plus the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, and if you buy this edition, I think you will get about a 20% discount. It can be bought for about 80 euros if you are going to buy the game on Steam. Moving on to the deluxe edition, this one will include, of course, the base game, the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, as well as digital art books and soundtracks from the base game of Elden Ring, plus the Shadow of the Erdtree expansions. This one, I think you can buy it for around $100, and I think it's a good deal. If you compare it to the previous edition, that just the Erdtree edition, this is about $20 more for 2 digital art books as well as 2 original soundtrack packs. So I think it's a good deal, and it's pretty much the kind of deluxe edition that we have been getting from Fromsoftware. So it's just about what we were expecting. Last, in the digital editions, we have the premium bundle, which comes only with the expansion itself, not the base game, but you will also receive the art book and original soundtrack. This is selling for about $50, which is about $10 more for the extras alongside the expansion itself. If you want to go a step forward and prove you're the ultimate fan, you will be able to get a collector's edition, which features the DLC, physical copies of the soundtrack and art book, as well as a massive, about 46 centimeters, figurine of Messmer, the main boss featured on the gameplay trailer. This version does not come with the base game and is selling for about $250/euros. And last but not least, if you happen to have an extra $180 to spare, you can also pre-order the helmet that Messmer wears in the footage. It is, from what we know, a 1:1 scale official numbered replica, and I believe is limited to about 10k units. When it comes to the setting and the whole picture of the DLC, it appears that this new adventure takes place in the Shadowlands, which, from what we were able to see and able to read from the interviews Miyazaki gave, are a different place as compared to the lands between. You can see that the Shadowlands are kind of beneath the lands between. There's a veil in the sky, as it was shown in some of the gameplay footage. From his interview to Famitsu, we do get to learn a lot of interesting things, like the fact that you can seamlessly travel back and forth between the lands between and the Shadowlands. And this seems to just take place in the same way that it does take place in the main game, by traveling to sites of grace as soon as you discover them. We do actually get confirmation that one of the most common theories about this DLC was in fact wrong. Many of us, including me, thought the DLC was going to take place in the past, from what Miyazaki himself says to Famitsu, this is not the case, and the DLC has a similar timeline to the events of the base game, so they're sort of happening at the same time. You could kind of say that. And this, of course, makes sense and checks out with the ability to travel back and forth between the two places. Now, a few things that we were right about was, number one, the entrance to the DLC. I guess most of us got that right. In order to access the DLC for the first time, you will need to interact with the hand in Mohg's arena, the hand in the cocoon. And I think a lot of us got that right. This was something that was widely discussed by the community. We are in fact following Miquella and at the same time learning more about Queen Marika's past. It's important to say that still in the Famitsu interview, Miyazaki himself confirms that in order to access this DLC, of course, we will have to beat Mohg in order to get to the cocoon in his arena, but we will also have to have defeated Radahn. So this brings out a lot of interesting questions as to why this specific demigod needs to be killed. Does it have something to do with the cutscene that plays after we defeat him, with the hole that is created in Limgrave? I guess we will have to find out. When it comes to the enemies slash bosses slash main villains that we have been presented to, we have, of course, Messmer the Impaler. This seems to be one of the focal points of this DLC. I don't think he's going to be the final boss of this new expansion. I do think he is going to be very, very important. From the interview to Famitsu, we do learn that he is at the same level of Morgoth or Godric slash Malenia, Radahn, Rykard, etc. So pretty much a great rune boss, and we do get confirmation that, or kind of confirmation that he is also a child of Marika. So pretty much confirming that he is at their level, but in a different setting. And what led to that? What led to him going to the Lands of Shadow instead of taking part in the lands between Throne Room? I guess that's what we're going to find out. Now, when it comes to unique elements in the DLC, and although we couldn't see this in the gameplay trailer, from the interviews we do get confirmation that there will be some kind of unique leveling system for only the DLC areas. Miyazaki kind of compares this to the attack power system in Sekiro. Now, the idea behind this seems to be balance, and it is completely understandable because we will have two groups of people. One group of people that will want to just rush to the DLC, and maybe they will be underleveled, and they don't want you to make you go through the entire game just to experience that new part maybe. So at the same time, this may also be used to stop you from being overpowered and just going to the DLC area and just rush through everything, which could happen considering that this DLC will be released more than 2 years after the original release date, which is a lot of time that players have had to come up with strong OP builds. So that could be also one of the focal points of this unique leveling system to the DLC. We do know that it exists, it is exclusive to the DLC, but I guess we will have to wait to know with more details. Now, from the gameplay trailer, we were able to see some new bosses, new weapons, and new skills. And from the interviews Miyazaki gave Eurogamer and Famitsu, we do get a mention of 10 new bosses. I do believe we will get more than that. This is probably the main new bosses from the DLC, but we will probably get more. We know that there will be 8 new weapon types. I repeat, this is 8 new weapon types, not weapons. So it's 8 completely new weapon categories. Now, if you think about it, 8 completely new weapon categories, that could mean that we are getting a lot of new weapon types. Everyone is talking about the martial arts displayed on the trailer. My personal expectation is that they did get some inspiration from the Bone Fists from Dark Souls 2, and this is some sort of Ash of War. So in general, and when it comes to new elements, like said in the interview, this is one of the focal points of the entire expansion slash DLC. So I expect there to be tons of new possibilities when it comes to builds, challenge runs, you name it. Now, when it comes to the size of Shadow of the Erdtree, we do know that it is bigger than the Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne DLCs. Miyazaki mentions Limgrave as an area of comparison to the size of this DLC, and if you think about Limgrave as a whole with Weeping Peninsula and the part that is closer to Caelid, we actually have quite a big area that could be used for this DLC, as well as even possibly underground areas. We get a mention of the Lands of Shadow functioning a little bit like the Lands Between when it comes to the construction of its areas, having legacy dungeons, smaller dungeons, open fields. So pretty much we can expect a little bit of what we had before, but with a different tone, a different energy, and of course different enemies. Last, and regarding a question asked by a lot of people, we will not be getting a new alternate ending. The events of the DLC seem to kind of be contained in the Lands of Shadow, meaning that you can complete this story within this new area and it won't really affect the contents of the main game. And yeah, these were some of the aspects I thought were interesting to bring into a video of this kind, as this is all information that has been confirmed to be true. These are things we know are going to happen. These are things that we know that affect the DLC or how they function. I am very, very excited for the release date. It's, I know, still 4 months away, but the excitement, of course, is there. It is growing, and we could go more in depth when it comes to some of the aspects talked about in this video, but we will probably leave it for another one. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. Feel free to subscribe and use the comment section to leave your opinion on some of the subjects mentioned here, or even other subjects regarding the DLC that you may want to talk about. We will be posting more content about the expansion in the future. We also stream live on Twitch, so if you want to come watch us do fun challenge runs, feel free to follow us on Twitch as we stream multiple times a week. Thank you so much for watching.